Welcome to an ongoing series on the channel where I analyze the musical score from some of the greatest movies, TV shows, and video games. It's here where I discuss how a soundtrack complements its corresponding title, along with how it came to be. In this episode, I'll be going over the marvelous scores of the first 3 installments of the Harry Potter film series, composed by John Williams. Yes, that's right, I'll be going over the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone if you're from the UK, the Chamber of Secrets, and Williams' final composition of the series, The Prisoner of Azkaban. The other films in the series were created by 3 other composers, thus we will make a separate episode for those compositions. Within the episode, we'll talk about how Williams composes the developing series and delivers an atmospheric tone for the magical world, as well as how the soundtrack transforms from joyful to ominous. Before we start, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to find more soundtrack analysis on other titles in the future. Each week you can find a new analysis video. If you've been here before, welcome back. With all that said, let's begin. When it comes to figuring out why we are so captivated to the leitmotifs or themes of Harry Potter, most people will tell you John Williams equals magical composer. The bottom line is, mostly everyone will explain Williams in this way, usually phrased, "Hey, you know that guy that made the music for Jurassic Park? Yeah, he smells fantastic." Or sounds fantastic, whichever suits you best. And we get it. He sounds/smells fantastic. But why is John's score on Harry Potter grand? How does he achieve that magic in his soundtrack? Let's start off with the Sorcerer's Stone/Philosopher's Stone. Much like any introduction to a story, there is an establishment of character presentation in their accompanied setting. In any case, we would associate a leitmotif to any given character. But for the case of the Harry Potter series, most of the motifs are built to attach to unique situations. Of course, there is an exception of some tracks that need to keep the central theme in place, much like the track Harry's Wondrous World, which supplements the positive and robust friendship between Harry, Ron, and Hermione. The Sorcerer's Stone's themes depict an early display for characters and settings that hold a light tone to show a fresh story that has yet to be matured. It's the themes in these films that represent Voldemort and the evil circling Hogwarts that reconfigures the score throughout the series. Most of the tracks that are recycled are only used once more in other films. These tracks will commonly carry over to a separate movie composed by the same composer that originally created the motif. For example, most of the songs used in the Sorcerer's Stone are only used again in the Chamber of Secrets, and most of the tracks used in the Order of the Phoenix are carried into the Half-Blood Prince. These pairs are soundtracks created by their own composer, and since the series matures over time, you wouldn't expect a lighter theme from an earlier film. Once Williams left the film series, each composer after produces their own sound that reflects off Williams' initial composition. If you were to compare the 4 composers of these films, you will hear the distinct melodies that signifies each musician. There's one theme composed by Williams that holds the series all together and is used in all the Harry Potter films, Hedwig's Theme. The track emphasizes the leitmotif of the series as a whole. Although the track is labeled under Hedwig's name, it's not always representing the White Owl, but instead an expanded impression of the supernatural power within the wizarding world. The main theme is the definition of Harry Potter, with its technical melody and dramatic orchestral instruments to characterize Harry's magical odyssey. Moving into a sequel that progresses the score along in a slightly similar fashion as the Sorcerer's Stone, the Chamber of Secrets reaches a wider perception of the benefits of unique leitmotifs. The biggest difference between this film and its predecessor is the change in the music conductor. Originally, the score was to be conducted by Williams, but at the time, John was scoring Steven Spielberg's film Catch Me If You Can, which caused Williams to hand over the score to be conducted by William Ross. The score was already written by John before he handed it over. It's in the Chamber of Secrets where the tone slightly transitions to a gloomy accent to underline the danger of the basilisk and the Chamber of Secrets. One of the most impressive themes in this sequel is a track called The Spiders. This eerie theme symbolizes the presence of the unnatural Aragog and his spiders. Not only is this one of the first unnerving songs in the Harry Potter series, but the theme has a looping melody that runs over 8 notes, a note for each spider leg. What makes this even more technical is that each note hits a dissonant sound, or in other words, a tone that is played unusually to cause distress. Each group of notes descends its octave until it repeats the melody. Before I talked about how each composer in the film series has a different sound, but I want to talk about how The Prisoner of Azkaban's musical design has altered since The Sorcerer's Stone. The series takes a dark ambient turn into the universe with a new director and reconfiguration of the soundtrack's mood. The film series has its first dramatic development. The Prisoner of Azkaban is also the first movie to have its own main theme, Double Trouble. The motif shows the audience a pleasant return to the series and to Hogwarts before it turns itself upside down. Double Trouble's lyrics were taken from a popular scene in William Shakespeare's play Macbeth, where three witches manipulate political events. One of the lines in the song reads out, "By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes," which could symbolize the darker change in the film. Another major theme of this movie is the flute field theme, A Window to the Past, which represents the characters or the marauders who had relationships to Harry's parents and their emotional connection. The Prisoner of Azkaban heavily relies on characters associated to Lily and James Potter, in combination to Harry, Ron, and Hermione, to further strengthen the theme of friendship and trust. Since the third movie has one of the most versatile soundtracks of the series, I'll lastly talk about two powerful tracks from this soundtrack that highlights its diversity: the mechanical Forward to Time Past and the concluding Mischief Managed. There are many soundtracks that replicate a ticking clock to associate urgency. It also sets the tempo of the song, which gives the sensation of time passing. Tracks like Forward to Time Past are always distinguishing a dynamic point within a scene. If we look at the score for Dunkirk, Hans Zimmer uses ticking as the movie's build-up. The intensity of the film's music adapts to the screen because of the continuous clicking. Forward to Time Past identifies a dramatic change, but in a more literal sense. The track serves as the theme for the Time Turner, a mechanical timepiece that travels the user through time and therefore presenting the dynamic change. Besides the ticking, the woodwind instruments that storm the song in a repeating pattern implements the reversal of time, almost imitating the sound of rewinding a tape. The ending credits track Mischief Managed pushes the boundaries with its generous selection of orchestral instruments that transitions all the major themes successfully in 12 minutes. The satisfying theme can easily define John's magnificent contribution towards the Harry Potter universe, and it's the theme that sends off Williams from the series. Before I give my final thoughts on John Williams' score for Harry Potter, I want to discuss the future of the Score Uncovered series. Now that I've worked on half a dozen of these videos now, I want to keep this thing going. I love making these videos, and I want to continue them for you guys. So here's the deal. I plan to make Score Uncovered a permanent series on the channel, and to do that I'm going to need to do a special call to action. If any of you know me, you know I hate asking for help. Thankfully, you're not pulling off your arms, since I get my human meat somewhere else. I only want you guys to consider sharing these videos with your friends and family. This will allow the series to grow and to stay on a steady path. Unfortunately, in the time we live in now, YouTube's search engine optimization and its algorithm have been so difficult to work with. It's almost impossible to position videos to the right audience with the tools we're given. The site is flooding with videos every second. YouTube is now a game of luck. Considering soundtrack analysis videos don't have a portion on YouTube quite yet, I want to make that a reality so we can give some recognition to these excellent composers. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I'll do my best to shove soundtrack info right into your face. Not as much as this unexpected announcement, but just saying, keep your eyes open. Or closed. I don't control your body, at least not yet. Based on your interest for John Williams' score on Harry Potter, I'll continue to analyze more scores from Williams in the future. If you want to request a movie, TV show, or video game for Score Uncovered, let me know here on YouTube or on my Twitter page. Alright, now that I'm done rambling, let's move on. Harry Potter is a classic with its enduring characters and whimsical quality. When you think of how director Chris Columbus was envisioning Harry Potter on the screen, we ask the question, why he picked John Williams, and how did Williams envision the musical atmosphere of Harry Potter? This film series has a very distinct sound that encompasses emotion through an urban fantasy story. Williams has been successful in the field of the unimaginable, Star Wars, E.T., and Jurassic Park. John is adaptable to a story's disposition, that he can shape the emotions that pour out of its reservoir. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone score shaped how viewers perceived Harry's story, until the end. John sets up the mood for the rest of the film's composers. I want to thank you for watching this episode of Score Uncovered. Let me know which Harry Potter movie was your favorite out of the lot, which film has the best score, and who was your favorite composer for the series. Ending the episode here, once more, thank you greatly.